Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. On this episode, we are doing some work to the Mustang, doing work to the GTI that's parked outside. I just want to fix a few things before we get going on the GC8 project next week. We got to figure out all the stuff to get this EJ257 in the GC8 and running and reliable-ish. So I just want to knock out a few nitpicky things like the rear suspension on the Mustang, the wheel bearing on the GTI, before I clear out the shop, do a big clean, get the GC8 in here and start working on it. You know me, I gotta have a nice big reset and then we get going on a project. And then we take off for a week or two on an adventure. So lots of cool stuff coming down the pipe, but we're gonna start out with some boring work on the daily and the somewhat summer daily track fun having muscle car. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to work.
This past weekend, my wife and I hopped in the GTI and headed out to the Okanagan to do some sightseeing and take a little road trip and get away. The entire time, I could hear the front right wheel bearing whirring away and wumping from when I smacked it into a curb back in February, so I decided that it was time to fix it, but not before taking in the sights of Leavenworth and the beautiful valley that it sits in the mountains of Washington. Once I got back, I decided that it was time to also address the rear suspension on the Mustang because it had been making some really bad squeaking noises. It's pretty apparent why. I did drive it through all kinds of weather and beat it pretty good on Power Tour, so it was time to do a little bit of maintenance.
I know what's wrong with it.
Ain't got no damn suspension.
Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to Days Off. This time, we aren't really modifying anything or going anywhere. We're just fixing some stuff. The Mustang has a little bit of issues after Power Tour, so I'm gonna address that right here, right now. And then the GTI has had a bum wheel bearing since I smacked it into a curb back in February. And I've had the wheel bearing for about a month. I've just not had time to do it. So tomorrow we're gonna throw that in. Today, we're gonna work on getting the rear coilovers back in the Mustang because I took them out to service them after I discovered that the spherical bearings were completely porked and it's causing all sorts of crunching and squeaking and just unpleasant noises that you really don't want to hear in your high performance vehicle. So I've got new bearings pressed in with new clips and everything. Checked everything over on the coilovers themselves. They're good to go. So in this episode, we're gonna throw those in. And we're gonna get to work. See you guys in a minute. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've been running these Ridetech Level 2 coilovers on the Mustang front and rear. I've had these for 4 years, and the reason I got them is because they convert the rear of an S550 to a single coilover setup, whereas stock, they are a coil separate from the shock. I'll insert a photo here. You know, not a terrible setup, but in terms of the aftermarket coilovers and everything, I've had a few sets of coilovers on this car. Every set of them always squeaked and clunked around. It was super annoying. The spring rates that were available were not great. And to get height adjustability, they have a basically like how you would have an adjustable collar on a coilover. They just had that as a spring perch and it just sat loose. So as soon as the car would unload, you'd get all sorts of clunking and noise, and it was just really annoying. And also the springs that were available like to sag and touch, causing like the first two coils, I won't say the company names, but honestly the first two coils were like close to touching on both of them, and you would just have an infinite spring rate on like heavy bump, and it was really annoying. The car didn't handle all that great. These, I mean, I have no complaints. Ridetech has a lifetime warranty on all their stuff. They sell parts to rebuild everything yourself, and I mean I'm happy with them. They've been great. After Power Tour, these were making all sorts of squeaky clunky noises. It's because these spherical bearings that the coilovers mount into the plates that are on the body, they were blown. The Teflon strips inside were all blown out, and they were all full of grit and stuff and moving around, so they were basically shaking inside of the mount and causing all sorts of bad noises and stuff. And I just wanted to clean them up and throw them back in nice and fresh. So that's what we're doing. One small issue that I've run into though, and one part that I didn't order, is these are the plates that mount to the bottom control arm. Zoom up. And there's a carriage bolt that goes in here because this is where the coilover sits. And it's a carriage bolt because obviously you cannot get a wrench or a socket in there once the coilover is mounted. So what I'm gonna have to do, I bought some grade 8 hardware in the same length as the carriage bolt. I'm gonna drop it through, I'm gonna clean it up, and I'm actually gonna weld that bolt to the plate. And then we don't have to worry about anything moving around. We can get the nut on there without having to worry about the thing spinning in its hole. So we have to do that first. So we have to clean up this plate around here, get the metal exposed, and then clean up the bolt head so that we're not welding this zinc stuff because that can be bad for you. Drop it in, we'll zap it up. We'll paint those and let them dry so that they're not gonna corrode and rust. I've actually got I painted the other one prematurely, not thinking that I would have to do this, but once I took the carriage bolts out, I realized they were crap, and here we are. Ready to rock. Let's do this. Sucks, I actually did a half decent job of cleaning that one up, but oh well. I'm just gonna grab some sanding stuff. That's how it's gonna go. All right, had to open the shop because, you know, don't want to die of fumes. So, excuse the backlighting. Turning on the gas would be good. All right, show you what we're doing. All right, well, the welds are not the greatest, but they're gonna do what I ask it to. So I'm happy with that. All right, so now I'm gonna clean this whole thing up with the wire wheel and shoot with some paint. And then that's gonna be what we're doing. And then I gotta do that one. So I'll probably zap that one too, and then do them both at the same time. Good to go. Total trash. Oof, a little tragic. Look at that garbage. Oh well, that's okay. We'll live. It'll do the job. All right. We're back. Had to let the brackets dry overnight. Here they are, nice and fresh. Slapped them with a coat of black paint, and that should do the trick for now. Gave the coilovers a quick cleanup with just some WD-40 and a microfiber. Takes care of like all the built-in grit and stuff. So cleaned up all the threads, got in behind the coils and onto the shock body and everything, cleaned up all the sand and stuff that was in there. We got our new mounting brackets for the lower control arms with the welded in grade 8 hardware, and we're gonna install it. All right, top bolt's going in. Snug her down. dangling freely. All right, other side. Love this drum beat, it's awesome. As you can see, coilover still moves freely, which is what you want. That way nothing's binding, and it'll still be able to cycle and go through the motion without any sort of weird compression happening. I'm gonna go to the other side, and then I think we're gonna take the sway bar off really quickly and service it because it is grody. And then I'm gonna drop this thing down and go for a quick ride. Oh, it's nice and tight in here. All right. All right. I'm so out of shape. So coilovers are in, and I'm gonna move the screen because it's distracting me. So the coilovers are in, and I went to service the rear sway bar. I actually realized that the end links were backwards. I think they were causing some binding issues. So I flipped them to the right side where you can actually access the bolt to get them out a lot easier. I was going to service the sway bar, but the side that is kind of a little bit closer to the exhaust is actually pretty worn out. So I'm going to jump online tonight and probably just order some new bushings, so I won't bother servicing right now. I did move the sway bar while the end links were off. It's pretty free still. It's not squeaking or anything. There's no binding, so I think we're okay. Anyway, let's throw the wheels on and take this thing for a spin. I don't know. 3 good burnouts on these things. I'm not even at the wear bars yet.
First floor, ladies' underwear.
Well, didn't squeak on the way down, so we might be good. Mustang is on the ground and running. I didn't hear any squeaking when I dropped it off the jacks. It ain't doing the same thing it did before, so let's go for a quick test drive. Man, if you're not in this car for like a few weeks like I have been, it just feels absolutely savage when you get back to it. I love it. It's got some appropriate pops and bangs. It works! I think my tires are a little bald. Oh, I love this car so much. So much. Still got a weird little crinkle in the back end, but I think it's from the CV axle. It is a Rock Auto axle, so it's probably not the best, but it does the job. Good car. Mustang GT with a Shelby motor. Those tires that are way too small. End bulb. Good times. All right, she's fixed. Let's get back to the shop. Hey guys, so we got the Mustang all squared away with the rear suspension. Took it for a ride, it's doing good. No more squeaky. It's got some other issues that we'll address probably later in the summer because I'll procrastinate on it, let's be honest. Now, we're doing some work to the GTI. A bunch of work that I've already done. Unfortunately, I didn't flick the old lav mic on here and I had no audio, but I do have the footage of me taking everything apart, so I will explain everything to you as I'm doing it. And then we'll jump back and take a look at what we're working on, which is the wheel bearing on the passenger side front from where I hit it in February when I smacked into a curb and bent the rim and the tie rod and just generally had a bad time. So yeah, we're gonna re that. Probably not gonna get it all done tonight, but definitely will show you taking it out, and then we'll jump back tomorrow and finish it all up, take it out for a drive. Call it an episode. All right, here we go.
So to get at the wheel bearing in question, I began to loosen everything off the brakes and pull the axle bolt out so that when the brakes were off, the axle would just pop out. Everything was fairly straightforward. You just have to loosen up the 3 nuts on the bottom of the control arm here to work that off so that you have enough room to pull the axle out and get at the bolts that mount the bearing and hub assembly to the back of the spindle. Once everything was loose, I began to work to get the caliper off. It actually came off pretty easily. The pads weren't like stuck to the rotor or anything, which was nice. And I just zip tied it up out of the way to the upper part of the strut. The little set screw, the rotor came off and the axle pushed out easily. And then it was time to work on the bolts on the back of the spindle to get at the wheel hub. You get knocks with the mallet and the wheel bearing and hub assembly came out without an issue.
All right, so what we're looking at here is the old wheel bearing that we just took off that you saw that I lost all my audio for. So this is the old wheel bearing and this is the new one that I got from Rock Auto. It is a NSK bearing. You know, it's just an OE replacement, nothing special. It's gonna do the job. I'm gonna show you kind of what to look for when you're replacing wheel bearings, like if you're not sure if it's totally toast or not, because it can be very minuscule what you're looking for. And in this case it is, but once it's on the car and rotating on a wheel, it's very audible. So we'll put this one aside for a moment and readjust you. So usually with a wheel bearing that's blown, you will have you'll be able to grab, like in this case, it's a whole sealed hub. You can usually have the wheel and tire on and grab it, and if you move it, you can audibly hear a clicking. You'll hear that as a constant clicking in rotation with the wheel. And then if you were to have it on the vise like this, you would be able to actually physically move it, which isn't the case with this one. It's pretty tight still. What the issue is, it's like a low harmonic, it's just like woo, 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 woo. And then it obviously increases with speed. So what you're looking for really is you want to listen to when you rotate it. And if you listen closely, you might hear that? Just that little bit of clicking inside is what is causing that
that whirring or wumping sound in the cabin.
So that's the problem we're experiencing with the old bearing. Now I'm going to show you the new one. We put it in the vise. So no real like crunching or grinding or like catching sounds. It's just nice and smooth, and that's what you want to listen for. So old bearing toast, new bearing good. We're gonna throw that one on, but we're not gonna do it right now because it's getting late. So I'm gonna call it here for tonight because I gotta get to bed. I gotta start at like 6 o'clock in the morning, so I should probably get some sleep. As you can see. I'll see you guys in about 15 seconds when I turn the camera back on and we get back to it. So without further ado,
Hey, we're back. So it's the following afternoon. I'm off work, had dinner, ready to take this thing for a drive. So we're gonna get the new wheel bearing on the spindle, get everything bolted up, everything torqued, everything back together. Then we're going for a little drive. All right. This time I didn't screw up and forget my audio, so let's get this done and not have to narrate it. I'm looking forward to that. Left a nice little disgusting mess over here to come back to. As you saw, everything was disassembled last night. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna clean out the spindle, get all the rust and what seems to be left over bearing material out of there, get it nice and clean, and then we'll get the new one mounted in there. Easy as that. When you tighten these axle bolts or axle nuts, the car's got to be under load, so you have to basically get it snugged up to just seats, and then get everything back together, get the wheel on, and once you drop the car on the ground is when you do your torque spec to cinch everything up for the axle. So just gonna get this to touch, stop, like just snug, and then we'll come back once everything's done and hit it with the torque wrench and give it, I think it needs a 90 degree with like 57 foot-pounds or something. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, everything is tight, connected, good to go. All right, everything is completed. Because I'm such a tweaker, I actually like detailed the wheels and ceramic coated them. Just like some cheapy ceramic coat that'll kind of do the job for now until it's up on jack stands for an extended period of time, which we will actually do it properly. But anyway, everything's secured, torqued, got that axle bolt torqued. Wheels are on, so I'm gonna move the Mustang out of the way, and then we're gonna take this for a quick test drive, listen for any sounds that aren't kosher, and then we're gonna call it an episode. Garage is closing. Straight up just listening. I do not hear a damn thing out of the passenger side wheel. I think that's going to be a success. Cool. Well, I think that's going to be 2 for 2 on this episode of Getting Things Fixed. Mustang is no longer squeaking. The GTI is no longer whirring and wumping with a bum wheel bearing, which is just perfection. Commute tomorrow is going to be that much less annoying. Now, if only I could laser beam all the assholes that park in the left lane, it'd be perfect. Anyway, I'm probably going to take this thing to go grab some ice cream. I will see you on the next episode where we are getting going on the GC8 because, well, there's some big news. Some real big news. And I have to get the car done. So I'll see you guys next time. As always, be kind, drive hard, and I will see you on the road. Take it easy.